All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 62. We're so glad to have y'all back after definitely another, I'll return the word, it's been another crazy week. Been a little while since I can say that, but definitely another crazy week of football.
Yeah, I want to say probably one of the more exciting weeks that we've seen. I think a lot of teams fought back in terms of, playing from a lower record, playing to get into the playoffs. I mean, the game that everyone watched last, KC at Green Bay, I don't think anyone really saw, besides maybe Packers fans, the Chiefs losing to the Green Bay Packers. So if we want to get right into this week's games, let's go to Seattle at Dallas. And with the way the Cowboys have been playing and their quarterback, I'm going to ask you this. Is Dak Prescott the MVP?
As of right now, I'll be honest with you, I'm buying the Dak Prescott MVP hype over the Brock Purdy MVP hype. I know Brock's the MVP favorite right now. Here's what I'm saying. If I had a vote to give, as of right now, I think it's going to Dak Prescott. The resurgence of Brandon Cooks, how that offense is really flowing right now. And don't get me wrong, Brock is definitely very much responsible for what's going on over there in the 49ers. Just a little bit perhaps more well-built, a few things that they have leaning their way that I like more. And I get it. If you're a Niners fan, you might say that sounds wrong, and you kind of could go both ways. Me personally, I'm just going Dak, especially with the jump he's made as opposed to last year. I was really on his case. I got to give credit where it's due,
He has 5 games left, and he has 3,200 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. The Cowboys are... I want to give props to the Seahawks. Let's start with the Cowboys, but before we do that, let's give props to the Seahawks for staying in this game in the way that they did. CeeDee Lamb, just ridiculous. Like, what a ridiculous receiver. CeeDee Lamb, and then on the other side of the ball, you have Deron Bland. Could the Cowboys possibly be making their argument for the 1 seed?
It's crazy because that's why I'm cheesing is whenever you start gassing the Cowboys, it's like things just go off the rails. That's why I say I'm going to keep going on the same trend I was going on last week. See, gassing Dak individually is different than gassing the Cowboys as a whole. I didn't fall into the trap yet. For the Cowboys' sake, genuinely, I'm not going to say anything. I feel like there's like this cosmic thing. You can't shift it. You can't I'm going to be respectful to the Cowboys, what they got going on. I'm not going to try to ruin it. All I'm going to say is, right now I'm impressed, and very potentially, could they come stay in that 1 seed? Oh, for sure.
Possibly. I mean, I think the thing with the Cowboys is they're clicking on all cylinders, like offense, defense. Like there's really where do you see the weakness?
So the only thing I want to talk about with the Cowboys at this point is, because you're right, like not the only thing, but let me rephrase that. The main thing where it gets interesting is because yes, they're hitting on all cylinders, defense playing great, offense looks great. But I saw if they don't make a deep playoff run this year, Mike McCarthy potentially on the outs, Dan Quinn taking over. Now, interesting situation with how much the team is gelling right now. Just maybe I don't know. Maybe could that be not the best case scenario if they end up, because I mean, winning the playoffs is hard. It's
is it NFC Championship or bust? Like, is that what they're talking about? Because my thing is I'm not saying Dan Quinn doesn't deserve another shot, but I don't know if Dan Quinn takes this team farther than Mike McCarthy does.
That's where it's I don't know. I feel like maybe just hear me out. Maybe you just can't rush it. Like keep this process growing. But again, if you're a Cowboys fan, you also don't want to hear that shit because you've been so close for so long. Literally keep thinking you have the team. I get both sides of it. I definitely do, especially Jerry. Jerry's itching to get back in Lombardi land. I don't know, though. My personal opinion, maybe just don't mess with it right now. Especially, moreover, just maybe, why is that news breaking right now when things are going so well?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I mean, maybe it's to put, and this is coming from the Cowboys camp too, to either set a fire under Mike McCarthy or I don't know what it is. Jerry Jones runs his team in a very interesting way. Going to the other side of the ball, Geno Smith snapped this week. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception.
Yeah, definitely Geno's best game of the year. Definitely DK's best game of the year. 6 receptions, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns. DK been going crazy recently. And then I want to say JSN hitting his stride in this offense. 7 catches, 62 yards. JSN's definitely not anything explosive yet, but definitely starting to get his feet in. I feel like the first few weeks you were kind of a casual fan. You were kind of like, oh man, is JSN busting out? No, not at all. Just a few, injuries piling up on him. He had to recover. Had to get his feet, or not. What you get? What I'm saying. He had to get his footing down, not his feeding. He had to get his feet on the ground though, and here he is. He looks good now, and you love to see it if you're a Seahawks fan.
Yeah. Also, the thing is with the defense, I mean, I know that it was a high-scoring game on both sides, but I feel like with the Seahawks, there's a lot more question marks than sure answers on defense.
So, no, and it's funny you brought this up because and here's where it's killing me. I couldn't find the exact statistic where I really wish I was able to, but it was something along the lines of ever since the Seahawks had traded for Leonard Williams earlier in the year, it's like they have like one of the, I don't want to say an exact number because I'm not sure. All I'll tell you is this. It was definitely 26th in the league was as high as it would be for like pressure rate. It was somewhere between 26th and 32nd. They're getting no pressure on the quarterback for whatever reason ever since they traded for Leonard Williams.
And it
makes no sense.
It was crazy because, and I'm not saying the trade necessarily was bad, but I feel like that was a trade that was not knocked in the slightest by anybody.
No, time out. I'm going to sound uneducated here, but remind me again, because the deadline was so uneventful. I should have been able to keep up with this exact number.
Second and a fifth.
I would say, was it the compensation?
Second and a fifth.
Given where the Seahawks are at now,
they could have traded for Montez Sweat for a second.
Yeah, I feel like that was definitely one of the worst plays of the season so far. And I think Leonard Williams is a bad player. He's absolutely not. But just for whatever reason, not working out the way that the Seahawks envisioned it, which is definitely, it really just makes no sense. Like trading for Leonard Williams and the pressure rate goes down. And I like it was already very high to begin with. It really doesn't make any sense.
Right. Well, also the thing is like, I mean, to kind of wrap this game up, I want to say like this was actually like a very good game and it led into a week of exciting games. So if we want to move into our next game, is Michael Pittman a top 10 wide receiver?
No, yeah, I think he's officially entering top 10 range. And I love to see him getting his flowers now because I feel like we've been gassing him for a while now. Like I've been on the trend. He hasn't been flying under my radar. I said he's having kind of it's not the same level at all, but it's like I don't want to call it a Walmart version of it either because it's definitely very impressive season. But it's like a lesser version of what Michael Thomas was doing back when he broke that single season record in 2019, where it's just like, it's like, well, that boy's going for at least 8 to 10 catches today. Like, he just throw it his way. Big moment, throw it his way. Like, Michael Pittman's really evolved into like that guy in that offense.
Well, it's like he's coming down with almost everything they throw at him, and it just opens up everything else on the offense. And honestly, it's crazy that he's doing this with Gardner Minshew.
That's another one of my notes. I had to. Gardner Minshew, like, jokes aside, he really needs his credit this season. And it's a weird thing where it's like, this is what I was thinking about recently. Now, hear me out. It's going to sound ridiculous. But we were always saying how with the Colts, like, the thing that helped A-Rich and it was so good about the situation for A-Rich was kind of like no pressure, like no expectations. This team is going to take a while to develop. And now it's like all of a sudden, like, wait a minute. He's in a situation where if he comes back next year and they're not competing for the playoffs again and he's going through these growing pains, like, the fan base is not going to be patient like anymore like they were. It's almost like
I didn't think
this
of
is
that.
kind of like maybe not the best case scenario for A-Rich, best case scenario for this season. But I'm just thinking down the road, just maybe, did this set A-Rich up for a potential like bump in the road?
Honestly, we need to put a pin in that and like just come back to it next year because that is a very interesting point that I did not think of. And I think it is a good point. But also kind of going off that, I was about to ask you this question before you said that. What do the Colts have? 6 wins, 7 wins?
7.
Okay. If Anthony Richardson is playing, do they have 7 wins?
No, see, and that was kind of like the thing I was saying on top of it, like in a weird way. But I don't know, because that's what's weird about the Colts is there's definitely been like a handful of games this year where they win and Gardner Minshew doesn't even play that good. Like, he plays a solid game. Like, he still made a few mistakes, a couple fumbles, a couple interceptions. So it's like, probably though still, yeah, I think that Shane Steichen is definitely like I said, and I had to bring this up. I told Jackie, my girlfriend, when we were watching, I couldn't stop laughing because I said last week, we're doing our game picks. My one-liner for the Colts and the Titans was like, man, Shane Steichen's going to come in there and show Mike Vrabel's new sheriff in town. And literally when the game's ending, the answer was like, and Shane Steichen showed Mike Vrabel there's a new sheriff in town. And
that's
like,
crazy.
Bro, could not stop laughing.
Well, I mean, he really is. I mean, to come in and do what he's doing with such a young team and, I wouldn't want to say their roster is devoid of talent, but I will say undeveloped. Like, it felt like they developed a lot of people this year.
No, for sure.
I mean, like even Alec Pierce, first career 100-yard game. I mean, I think that's been someone who's been pretty disappointing for Colts fans. Not to say he was going to be like a world beater, but I think they had higher expectations than what he was giving them. And, their offense, when JT goes back, like Rich is going to be stepping into a nice offense. You'd like them to see maybe them upgrade the offensive line a little bit, get like a better tight end in there. But on the other side of the ball too, Samson Ebukam, back-to-back week with 2 sacks. Kwity Paye, like 3 weeks in a row with 1 sack. At least defense, 1 sack.
Defense is coming together more and more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm impressed. Shane Steichen has definitely got the boys firing on all cylinders down there.
They really do need to improve the run defense, though. That I will say is probably like the one thing they have to improve. They get to the quarterback, but going to the other side of the ball or other side of the field, I guess, the Titans gashed them on the ground. Going back to that run defense I was just talking about, 177 yards. Just not good enough. This Titans team is just not good enough.
So not good enough to be putting up 177 yards on you. And no, exactly. And that's kind of part of the problem is you're right. That is definitely the Colts' biggest issue. I know Derrick Henry said he cringed with his last performance on the Titans. So, or not Titans, on the Colts. So it's good to see him come back, bounce back, go crazy for my fantasy team. Quick little fantasy shout out. And then I also want to talk about the only other thing really relevant about the Titans right now. They're kind of falling into that, not irrelevant land, but right now it's kind of like there's not really a lot going on, right? But the Will Levis D-Hop sideline altercation.
Yeah.
Big deal, little deal.
So,
I got to find something to talk about with this game.
I mean, here's my thing. I saw a D-Hop after the game say that that's just Will. Like, that is, like, it is what it is. Like, he didn't seem too pressed about it. But I will say this. Regardless if you want to look at Will Levis as like a hothead or whatever, the fact that your starting second-round rookie QB is willing to talk that way to, like, potentially maybe like a Hall of Famer in D-Hop, I respect the hell out of it. And you saw when he fumbled the ball, ran, and then picked up his own fumble.
Shit was hilarious.
Like,
and then he had the nerve to fucking it was too funny.
He did the first down, and then you remember when it was like really early, he was rushing to get a first down, went airborne, got flipped in the air, and then went down like and got up.
He's a fighter though.
Yeah, so like Will Levis, I think, is like built for like a Mike Vrabel team. But I don't think their offensive line and their receiving core is built for Will Levis right now. And
absolutely not.
That I think is the highlight of the story. I mean, like, this was the Titans' first loss at home. Just to kind of wrap this game up, I think the most frustrating thing for Titans fans is I feel like this team has been pretty okay, pretty decent. I think Vrabel has put a lot of that on his back. And I feel like there's only so much Mike Vrabel can do.
No, that's our big thing with the Titans this offseason. Keeping that eye on Mike Vrabel. Where's Mike Vrabel going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go take that Patriots job like people have their eye on or something? I don't think that's the case, but something to keep our eye on.
Okay, let's before we move on to the next game, let me ask you this. Mike Vrabel is fired. The Patriots retain Belichick. Where is he going?
Could you imagine taking a coordinating job, though?
No. Like, it's a head coaching job.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like all I'm going to say is this. If I'm the Commanders and he gets fired, I'm definitely getting him in the building.
Yeah, because I don't know if Bieniemy's done enough to get the head coaching job.
It's a weird thing, too. Yeah, I guess that's the thing. It just depends how you look at that situation with Bieniemy.
Yeah. I don't think he would be too bad on the Raiders. I think he would fit that culture actually pretty well.
No, I feel like he would. It's just the same time. I feel like with what Antonio's done with the whole Raider,
Pierce
like the Raider way. Like, I don't know. I feel like you almost have to like give him at least a year to let that ride out.
Oh, I agree.
But again, the owner might be seeing that completely different. Maybe too much of a risk.
Talking about firing coaches, we're going to move on to our next game. LAC at New England. Why do the Chargers need to fire Brandon Staley right now?
Oh, well, you already know why. There's absolutely, like literally my first note, there's absolutely no way the Chargers don't fire Staley after this season. Also, I wanted to say, this is where I think that nobody's really getting on ass. I need to start getting on ass about this. Kellen Moore, why is he not on the hot seat? Because hear me out. 7 games this season under 25 points. And you got Justin Herbert. It's just, call me crazy. That's unacceptable. And everybody got, let go from the Cowboys. Everybody had something to say, me included. I think it's starting to make a little bit more sense. The Dak last year, Dak this year, Justin's having a good year. Let me be clear. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you looked at just Justin's numbers, you'd be like, oh, no, he's just fine. He's not being maximized. Absolutely not. There hasn't been an offensive coordinator coming to maximize Justin Herbert yet, which is crazy. It's a weird situation over there. Even his numbers are amazing, and he still has not been maximized. But that's the thing is, even when his numbers look really good, there's something that's missing when you're watching Justin play. Like, and you know that if someone else comes in there and it'll be able to unlock it for him, it's just a matter of time. All I'm saying is, for me, Kellen Moore's not the guy. I'm not retaining him after this year.
Well,
I'm sorry. That's just my honest opinion. I know it might be a little out there because not really anybody's been saying it. And no, see, that was another thing I really want to talk about because it's Austin Eckler on the screen here.
This guy was pounding the table for money this offseason.
This is the thing with the running backs, bro. Like, they will literally be having a figurative gun to your head telling you that you're an asshole for not giving them the money, but it'd be the next year that they're going to fall off because they're getting older. It's like, if anything, I feel like it's more of a telltale sign of more the demanding all that bread at once. It's like, maybe, just maybe, you're getting a little older.
Austin Eckler, 14 carries for 18 yards, a long run of 4 yards. The Chargers had 29 yards on the ground. I mean,
24 carries on that too.
I guess my thing is, like, obviously the O-line stinks. Like, I think that's a very obvious thing. Like, the O-line stinks. Like, let's be real. But it's just like that offense, like the Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson, like, whatever your opinion of him is, he was a first-round pick. Mike Williams is out. I mean, they have Gerald Everett. Like, they're not completely barren of talent. And you would hope with a guy like Kellen Moore, you'd be able to do more. But it's just like at this point, like, okay, you fire Staley, and let's say the Chargers don't put up another game this year over 25 points. What are you doing with Kellen Moore? Like, I think Kellen Moore went there to try and get a head coaching job. And if he doesn't get the head coaching job there, I feel like there's teams that'll look at him. No, and then you're starting over.
That's why the time is now. The time is officially now. Let Staley go. See what you have in Kellen. If anything looks better. And if not, I'm sorry. It's time to clean house in this whole regime. Because you have Justin on way too much money to not be producing playoff tickets at the fucking very least.
Yeah. Wow, I just blanked. Hold on, I'll cut that.
That's hilarious.
I was thinking about the next game, but I was like, we're not done yet.
Yeah, no, that we have to switch. We got to switch over to the little Patriots rant, bro.
No, let's go to the other side of the ball. Khalil Mack, the NFL sack leader, 15 sacks. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
No, absolutely not me. And the thing is, because my homies have been on my ass a little. Let me be clear. I never called the man washed at all, but I definitely have implied, especially on the show at least, that maybe he never was going to get back to this point. He was getting a little older. He, was never going to be able to get back to this point again. Well, Khalil Mack told me, go fuck yourself. I got something left in the tank for you. And he's out here, sack leader. But again, sacks numbers don't necessarily, we're getting to a day and age where sack numbers are definitely more inflated. They don't mean what they used to in terms of like pure volume, like pure dominance off the edge because of the way things are changing. But all I'm going to say is he definitely still a dominant edge rusher regardless. He's just not the most dominant in the league. Like the sack numbers would have you believing. But regardless, he's having a hell of a season off the edge. And it's like
without Joey Bosa, some of the games.
No, yeah, like that's the thing is he's definitely out there holding his own, and he's having a very impressive season regardless. Potential All-Pro season again. So if you're a Chargers fan and just a Khalil Mack fan in general, you got to love the resurgence.
So now let's go to the other side of the field. The Patriots had another 0 sack day. But which is crazy because they held the Chargers to 6 points. Like 6 points. And then, I mean, on top of that, I mean, that's a credit to the Patriots defense. But how do you score 0 points against the Chargers? How? Like, did you get out schemed by Brandon Staley?
No, see,
like Kellen Moore? Like,
that's the problem. Like with the Patriots this year, like nothing has any type of identity. Like it's the weirdest thing where they went from the whole, like, Mac Jones was the problem, which we saw, like, obviously, Mac Jones is definitely not elevating anything. Definitely not the problem.
No.
And then it was like, okay, well, Bailey's out. They've done this, like, 4 times now. It's like, this is getting to the point where it's, like, mental. Like, how many times are we going to, like, shift, like, whose fucking fault it is? And it's like, but the reality is this team is absolute garbage. Like, you can start whoever you want. You can start Ronald McDonald, and the offense is going to look the exact same. You could start Tom Brady.
You have to clip that.
It's just, at this point, you could bring old Tom back in there, and they still are going to be struggling to get 9 wins because of how poorly built that team is right now, unfortunately. It's a weird situation they got going on. But that's what I'm really trying to get at is also like, why is Bill O'Brien still, how does he still have a job?
I don't know. I think it's one of those weird Patriots things, like the Patriots way, where they keep hiring like people that have been there before, and then it's just like, it's just like my main thing with the Patriots is it seems like they have like fake evolved. They're like, oh, this is the next iteration, and they haven't really changed a thing. So
I think it's going to keep at this point, and it will keep being that narrative for the Patriots over and over again. Is the whole thing that Warren Sapp clip from a couple weeks ago, where it's like, I think in today's day and age, unfortunately,
there's
for
no
the Patriots,
Belichick way. Yeah,
that Patriot way, I don't think people are buying into the same anymore.
No, they're definitely not. I mean, like, especially when you look at how young these coaches are, like, they don't want some dude that's 70 fucking years old yelling at them who hasn't ran a sprint in 10 years, 10 to 20 to 30 years. Like, so it just don't work, especially when you have like Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien. Like, that is not a fun room.
Maybe it's the era of doing push-ups with your squad. Dan Campbell really came in and really actually asserted the new era.
It has to be. Do you have anything else you want to say on this game?
What was there was one more little thing I wanted to say, and that was just, you know what, Quentin Johnston, at least second game this year, 50+ yards, slight bright spot for the Chargers.
He had another drop.
I know another. That's what I was saying, but I was literally going to say the unsilver lining is he had another huge drop. Like, it's just he is definitely fitting the bill of my issue with him coming out where he was going to drop issues, but I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near this.
No, it's I already thought I never really liked him coming out just because, like, I don't know, that championship game really said a lot to me because I was like, he's getting blanketed this whole game.
I'm telling you, the way that I'm going to like scout out receivers from this day forward is changed forever based off this. Like, I will never overvalue like tape against like 3-star, like, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but just like 3-star, 2-star, like random corners that are making the league. Like, it's about those SEC corners. It's about those like corners that I know are making the league. That's the only tape I'm ever going to value anymore with receivers, because Quentin Johnston officially changed me.
Moving into a big game this week. Big because Dobbs is a fan of this team. Detroit. Oh, wait, not Detroit. Yeah, Detroit at NOLA.
I say you're misleading them now.
I know. Detroit at NOLA. Is Sam LaPorta the best rookie tight end that we've ever seen?
Very potentially. And like you said, so to compare it almost in terms of like, well, who's the other guy? Well, for me, it'd be like, and you would say, okay, Kyle Pitts is probably our comparison point. I say they're two very different tight ends, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kyle Pitts is a guy I could go line up at X and tell him to go run and go route and like have him moss the team's best corner, even though Art Smith refuses to use him that way. But then with Sam LaPorta, it's like, you know what I mean? I got a guy I can really trust on drags. I can really trust him on slants. I can really trust him on curls. I really can trust him if I needed like a big third down. He's a good big body on this, like the strong safety. He's kind of a, you know what I mean? He's more of a possession target. But so they're different. But I'll say, like, in terms of being like a pure tight end, yeah, I would say right now it is Sam LaPorta in my lifetime, because the combination of the blocking and the receiving skills from a day one guy, I mean, it's actually unbelievable right now what we're seeing this year.
It's just, I think it's so crazy because, and we can talk about this more like as we go through the show, but I don't think I've ever seen a time where I've seen more like young tight ends starting to shine. Cole Kmet, Trey McBride, Sam LaPorta, like all these guys are starting to snap. And it's like all around the same time. And I'm probably missing some people, but it's just the point of like tight ends were so few and far between. I feel like, especially when it comes to fantasy now, you're going to be able to get like a decent player. Evan Ingram, we'll see him tonight. Like,
no, it's a great point. It's a great point you're making. I haven't really thought about that and really at all. But I feel like it's just because like the modern offense, the way that we're kind of like revolutionizing, spreading things out more, it's kind of like it really just opens up opportunities for the tight end to kind of be the check down almost every snap. But then it's like, if you don't have someone good guarding that check down, like you're cooked.
Yeah.
If you just got a safety or a linebacker, like you're cooked.
Especially when you have like a super athletic tight end, like a Sam LaPorta.
That's why you need a guy like a Brian Branch.
Yeah.
Like to be able to cover a guy like that. And this thing is not a lot of teams have that right now, where it's like that versatile guy in that position.
He broke the single game receiving record. I'm on Raw, 2 receptions, lowest of the season. Their defense, allowed 362 yards to the Saints.
So that's becoming an issue, right?
Like the Lions as a whole.
Like, no, I think the Lions are definitely getting, because that was my main point I want to talk about with the Lions. Like, you would agree they're getting into sketchy territory, right? Because I'll say as a Saints fan, this game felt wrong to be watching, where it's like, there's no way they didn't just kick our like that's the thing too, almost disappointing, you motherfuckers, because if you guys kicked our ass the way you're supposed to, I would have been waking up to text this morning saying Dennis Allen's been fired, Pete Carmichael's been fired. But no, it was let's let him back in. I know it's almost the worst case scenario for the Saints' future and also for the Lions, because now I'm starting to question the immediate future of the Lions.
Well, you have to think about it like they were up 21-0 in the first 7 minutes, and the fact that you let off the gas, and that is my issue I have with a lot of like NFL coaches is, and this is why I don't like the Bears coaching staff, is regardless of them being like inept and incompetent, when people play not to lose, that is when you lose. Like when the Dolphins put up 70 on the Broncos, I don't give a fuck. Like you need to score as much as you can because you never know when the momentum is going to shift. And that's what I will say. Like the Lions, it feels like sometimes take their foot off the gas and they're not winning at all, like dominant anymore. Like the Bears almost beat them if they didn't fold.
No, they are definitely, and that's what's so weird is with Dan Campbell being the identity of that team.
You would think that would be an issue.
Yeah, you'd think that would be the opposite of the issue. For whatever reason, it's like they get comfortable. And I don't know. That's definitely something and let me be clear, something you very much can change. So that's a good thing. But it needs to change quickly.
So let's go to the other side of the field. I'm just going to let you run with this. And then when you're done, we'll just move on to the next game. How about that?
No, yeah, like, because that's the thing is I don't even want to harp on it. I've harped on the Saints so much this year. I'm kind of just like, I'm over it. We're going to be quick about this. But let's recap everything. Incredibly disappointing season with the easiest schedule literally in the league. Dennis Allen needs to be fired. Pete Carmichael needs to be let go with him. Mickey Loomis is officially very much on the hot seat. Very, very fucking hot. At least Olave had back-to-back 100-plus yard weeks. Also, another only one sack from the Saints defense. Continued trend of terrible pass rush. Cost us the game on literally the last third down of the game also. Missed a sack on Jared Goff. Trend of the season. We can never get anybody down once we get in the backfield. So many things about this team need to be rebuilt. Start the rebuild this offseason. I don't know what we're doing about Derek Carr. I don't care. Fix this shit. End rant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know like what you do at the quarterback position.
Blow up. This team needs to be blown up. That's all it is. Because I'm an honest Saints fan. I still see Saints fans that are like trying to hold on to this Derek Carr hope. It's like let this be the proof. Even after he started off terrible, bounced all the way back, and he got injured again. Derek Carr's already at this point a walking injury, unfortunately for us. And I'm not even on top of the fact it's been a disappointing season. Our O-line's out here getting this man murdered. The whole team needs to be rebuilt, man. Like, I love how optimistic a lot of Saints fans have just started to get recently, but we need to get back to being realistic. This team is not built to go win a Lombardi. It's that simple.
Do you think with the Saints, I mean, I just heard this and I remember that because, you know, the Saints are always like super ahead of the curve with like contract, like pushing money down the road. Do you think it's to a point where it's like all the void years have like, I don't know how this works exactly.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the thing is we're honestly fucked this year in a way where it's like that's where it's become. That's why I'm saying just blow it up because we keep pushing it back. And that's the thing is like if we're pushing it back for what at this point, bro? Like we're pushing back the inevitable.
Right.
When we were pushing it back with Drew, it made sense. We're literally pushing back a rebuild.
Yeah.
What is the point? Even this year, let's be honest. Like, even if this team was at its very best, firing on all cylinders, how much do we believe in Derek Carr and Dennis Allen to win Lombardi? Like I said, literally the week that the signing happened, I've always been saying the same thing. I'm not a delirious Saints fan. It's like this whole thing felt null and void from week one. It's showing what it was. Let's fucking can it now, Mickey. If you can't can it, you need to be canned as well.
All right, let's move to another NFC South team. We have the Atlanta Falcons at New York Jets. Now, this is an interesting question. Was Jessie Bates the best addition to the Falcons this offseason, include free agency and draft?
Oh, absolutely.
Over Bijan Robinson.
I would say yes. That's the thing is they've had, and this, I want to be clear, they've had a lot of good additions. Even on Yamada, like they have had a lot of really good additions this year. But yeah, no, the way he is impacting them, he's an all-pro this year for sure. So it's like you added an all-pro guy in his prime too. It's like kind of like he's not getting in that old range. He's still right there at his prime. You got a guy where if you can figure out the QB situation, you could still have him potentially for that Super Bowl window. So for that reason, I got to say he was the best signing.
Yeah, I mean,
even over Bijan, which yes, Bijan technically is a signing too. Even though they drafted him, you still got the man pen and paper. You get my point.
Yeah, I think he's been great. a bright spot in this game because it was just, I mean, it was just so yucky. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. Like what was exciting besides the safety in the end zone?
That's our top note is just another lethargic week of offense from both teams. And so that's kind of where my question comes in about this game. Mainly about the Jets, because we already know Art Smith is actually on the cush seat. He's on the opposite of the hot seat. He's already been confirmed to be back next year. He's on the cushy seat, just rolling back a blunt, chilling. And then, so with the Jets, let's be serious for a sec, okay? Where are the firings going to start happening, and who's taking responsibility for this dumpster fire of a season? Because the thing with Zach Wilson that just came out, right? About how he's literally basically telling them to go fuck themselves, as he should. That's where this gets so fun to me, bro, is because to me, this was the most obvious shit ever. Who didn't see this coming that wasn't in the Jets building? Let's tell our second overall pick to go fuck himself after we set him up for absolute miserable failure. And then on top of it, we're going to bench him halfway into the year when he's actually the only thing that's even like remotely, like everything else.
There's no hope. This is the only hope. Yeah,
it was like the only hope you potentially had. And then for somebody who had 1 touchdown and 12 interceptions their entire college career, this was so obvious.
They would have been better off bringing in Joe Flacco.
They would have been better off bringing in Ronald McDonald. We'll go back to Ronald. I mean, at this point.
No, it doesn't really make sense. I didn't really see the Zach Wilson thing, but basically what you're saying is they want him to play again, and he's basically like, I'm not gonna play.
As he should know, because I think at this point in his eyes, it's probably very likely a divorce coming this offseason, whether through release or trade. So it's like, why put yourself in position to be potentially making less money on that next extension? Yeah. And I'm sure that's just what him and his agent are thinking.
I mean, I also think like at the end of the day, like, I don't think Zach Wilson's very good, but I think if he plays again and shits the bed, I don't think another team is going to entertain it. I feel like at this point, if he doesn't play, like another team, like maybe one of the worst teams in the league, will entertain it as like a backup.
No, exactly. That's very true. And like, really, that's like you're saying, there's not even anything to say about this game because it's just so lethargic. And it's like the Falcons will probably make the playoffs, but what is that even going to look like? Like, it's like, and then my last thing I want to say, because we can sit here and talk about how lethargic the Falcons are and that they're going to make the play. It's like, what does that even mean? It doesn't really mean anything. They're kind of like the Commanders over the Commanders sneak in his last seed, all that stuff. It's like, what are we going to say? But what I really wanted to talk about is, can we please, Jets, don't let Aaron Rodgers play again this season?
No, he shouldn't. There's no reason he should touch the field again. I mean, they're not making the playoffs.
It's like that's please. That's my only thing is don't let a man touch the field this season. That would be the only thing that can make this dumpster fire joke of a year even potentially more volatile of it, like a more volatile joke.
The Jets are currently the 14th seed in the AFC. There's no, I mean, like mathematically they're not eliminated, but it's like, what's the point? And also, if you want to talk about like Aaron Rodgers, like, so you say like the coaching staff unserious.
It's so unserious.
I just think like Jets fans, you better hope Aaron Rodgers does not get injured next year. Because whatever you saw this year, this is next year. And if it doesn't work next year,
that's why Jets fans, I feel like,
you have to draft a QB.
I feel like they're already like, that's why Jets fans are already almost saying like, just get this shit over with. Like, because it's like, let's be realistic. We always say, we're always talking about realistic chances. Like, realistic chances that everything's perfect next year after this. I mean, it's like
low because there's no way you fix that line all the way.
There's no way you fix that line. There's no way you get, I feel like the receiving core is going to, I feel like there's going to be some trades in place. There's going to be some like,
Devontae Adams a Jet.
That it maybe they're saving grace because we're gonna have to keep our eye on that. Like I said, thanks for the reminder on that.
I feel like that's got to be like the only thing they can do. All right, well, that was a fucking lame ass game.
Trash.
Moving on to a game that I really enjoyed. Arizona at Pittsburgh. Is Trey McBride and Kyler Murray a top 10 duo in the NFL?
I feel like I'm not ready to say that yet, but what I will say is, I've been on the train now where I've been on the Trey McBride train for like the last 3-4 weeks. He's been really getting going. And he was definitely one of the tight ends I was really big on when he was coming out last year, where I was like, you know what? He's this guy, big body, great hands, solid route runner. Like I say, tight ends those first years very rarely kind of like ever get usage. But now that he's getting his usage out there, I mean, you got to love what you're seeing. This is definitely pretty much exactly what he was doing in college. Replicated on the NFL field. Just being that number one target, big, fast, strong, and he's definitely still a great blocker out there. So it's like you're getting best of both worlds.
I mean, when they did that drive where they threw it to him probably 3 times in a row, he caught the touchdown. They said he dropped it. They come back next play, throw a touchdown again to him. Like, he was just looking dominant. And my thing is,
he's huge.
He's big, and they were saying, and he's super athletic. He's he's not big. He's lean. You know what I'm saying? He's a big, but he's not. Okay, he's not lean, but he's not overly swole. But he's in that perfect medium where he's elusive. And someone said,
kind of how Mark Andrews is built.
Kind of a little bit smaller in stature though.
Right. I just beat the mic up.
Yeah. What the fuck? They were saying that the Cardinals already have their wide receiver one. And it's Trey McBride. They don't need Marvin Harrison. I mean, here's the thing. I texted in the group chat probably, what was it? Maybe an hour before the game started. I was just looking at the schedule and I was like, because sometimes I'll review our picks before the game start. And I'm just like, it sucks we can't change them because the video's already out. But I'm like, I just feel like the Cardinals are going to win this game. I don't know what it was, but I was like, it just seems like a Cardinals win this week.
You know what it was? Is that we're starting to feel it. We're starting to feel the shift of the Steelers season.
Oh, yeah, it's done.
Where I feel like the truth is, and I feel like this has been our narrative all year. So this was kind of one of our other narratives we're kind of hot on right now. Is it's almost like with the Steelers, how far can you really go, right? Mike Tomlin always has his team overproducing, but it feels like they hit the top of the roller coaster. And maybe they'll have maybe there's another little, you know what I mean? A little divot in the coaster. But I think we're on the downward trend, even if you go back up a little bit again here. I think that we kind of hit the peak of the Steelers this year when Jalen Warren and Najee were both at their peaks. Whatever was going on there with the offense for a short period, but now it's back to reality. And especially with Kenny P out 2 to 4 weeks. It's very, very telling for potentially the end of the season here for the Steelers. Not that he's your saving grace, but it's you want him over Mitch.
Yeah. And it's I don't know. I feel like regardless of what Kenny Pickett was doing, I just don't feel like you're winning games with Mitch Trubisky. And
convincingly.
Here's what I will say about this game. There has to be something that the Cardinals saw in the Steelers defense that allowed them to keep, putting points on the board. And my thing is I feel like the Steelers defense might start getting a little bit, not exposed, but they're not going to be as strong as they were earlier this year. And you are already kind of seeing it with the Browns as well.
No, for sure. And I'll say, how about not just that? They're going to start getting frustrated because we see right here, TJ Watt literally after this game in the press conference, the NFL has something against me, he says. Seems like he's getting a little bit frustrated. And I don't blame him because you have to literally play perfect on that defense every single week to get your team a win.
Yeah, I mean, I would be frustrated too. I mean, do you think this will be the first year where Mike Tomlin finishes under 500?
It very well could be, but still some way, somehow, they'll probably find a way to finish with 9 wins.
So but
I just don't think that'll be enough. Maybe it's still that probably won't be enough for the playoffs. We're kind of rounding out here. They're probably one of the last teams out. I still could be wrong.
I mean, yeah, they play New England, Indiana, Cincinnati, Seattle, and Baltimore. I mean, they should win 3 of those games.
I was going to say, if you should be able to win the next 3.
I feel like this New England game,
imagine?
Bro, they're going to win. They're going to win.
Is that your hot take of the week?
I think
Belichick's coming ready for one of his rival franchises?
Oh, my God. Just like Arizona won this week, I think New England will win next week. And I honestly think, before we move on to the next game, I think Arizona can sneak out one more win this year.
No, that's, if anything, like we've been saying, if you're a Cardinals fan, you should have genuine excitement for these next couple years coming up here.
Oh, yeah.
This year it looks terrible, but we know the reason that it looks terrible. Wipe the slate clean, give yourself a fresh record extra. I think it's going to be a really exciting year for Cardinals fans.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's so bare bones. You like the coach. The quarterback is playing well. You have a high draft. You have 2 high draft picks?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, 2 draft picks in the first round this year. Not 2. Well, not 2 high ones. One high one.
Yeah, I'd say potentially, though.
Depending on how the Browns do.
Yeah, potentially higher.
The Texans.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Is higher. You could potentially get somewhere in the top 16.
Yeah.
Maybe not likely at this point, but we'll see.
It's still 2 top It's 2 first-round talents, so that's great to add. And I'm not convinced that take Marvin Harrison, they might move back and get more picks. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, they are very barren for talent right now.
All I'm saying, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm definitely I keep saying it. I'll keep saying it over and over again. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm just gonna keep focusing on that O-line because you got your guy. Like I said, you also have a for sure guy in that receiving core that you can trust long term now at this point, as long as he stays healthy. I think you got to really focus on that O-line.
A team that has no doubt in their receiving core. We have Miami at Washington. My question to you is, do the Dolphins have the best backfield in the NFL?
Oh, not a doubt about it. Not a doubt about it. That's, literally one of my notes is the Dolphins most dangerous team in the league, probably most dangerous offense in the league when Mostert and Shane are both healthy. I just butchered that, but you guys get what I'm saying. They are the most dominant offense when they have both them out there at the same time.
So I traded for we traded for Achan.
Hey, yeah, the co-management scheme.
And he was coming off injury, and then he got hurt. The game he came back, I was like, no way.
I thought it was gonna be long term too.
He came back and snapped.
He's a snapper.
He snaps every game.
No, I have to find the audio of it because I really did. I had this man picked out last year after he cooked LSU because this man literally murdered our playoff hopes. And not that we had big playoff hopes last year anyways, but he literally murdered them straight up. And I just watched him run all over our defense. And I'm talking about like throwing dudes, like way bigger than him. And I was just he's NFL ready. Like, this boy's about to go out there and go stupid. I didn't think it was going to be like this, though. I really didn't think it was going to be like putting up record speeds and shit.
No.
Knew he was up next, but not like this.
Well, also, I mean, if you want to talk about like outside of their backfield, like their offense is just unstoppable. Like Achan, Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle,
they are cooking.
And they have like the perfect quarterback to just get them the ball. And I think that's why people who were so high on Tua before people understood what like Tua was supposed to be doing. I think that's what they saw in him. I mean, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, nothing crazy, but Tyreek Hill, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. By chance, do you think Washington thought that they were playing Tyreek Hill this week? They just let him go over the top multiple times. I don't get it.
No, Ron Rivera is very. You can just tell it's a team that is very much like a quiet quitted team. Like, there's
done.
nothing like however good teams are operating. Very clearly, the Commanders are not operating this on the same like level anymore, and they're not operating the same way. And it's like, if you're a Commanders fan, you know it. This thing is, I think Commanders fans are kind of like the most aware of just like the kind of like seismic shift going on around the whole organization right now, where it's like this year is almost just unserious. At least it feels very unserious, minus the Sam Howell like awesomeness that you guys have going on, which is still, yes, week to week, there's still some volatile moments, but you know what you have in the guy. When the O-line is this terrible and the receiving core is still potentially, you still got a few things you want to add. It's not going to be perfect every week, but at least you know you got your guy in Sam Howell. Minus that, though. We'll go back to the thing to another 0 sack week.
For the Commanders? I mean, it's like, also, like, if you want to like talk about, before we completely jump to the Commanders, like, the Vic Fangio defense is finally stepping up for the Dolphins. Sam Howell, 127 passing yards?
Yeah.
Lowest all season.
This was probably, I won't say the worst game he had all season, but this was the most disappointing game he had all season. Where if you're a Commanders fan, you definitely would have really liked to see him eat up on this defense, show you, okay, I can still, you know what I mean? This core can still compete against a really good cornerback core, really good safety core. They can't, at least not right now, especially with this O-line. So it's like, that's my point is, minus Sam, you still have so much to do. The team is definitely very unserious right now. They're gearing to be serious. Obviously, you have the whole new ownership group, everything. You're going in the right direction. But right now, things just don't feel like they're nowhere near what things are going to be in the next few years, because it's like the guy, Josh Harris, just hasn't had a chance to really put his thumb on this team yet.
Well, I think another thing that's kind of frustrating for the Commanders is I don't think the receiving core is really turning out how they thought it would.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even Terry's definitely like, I want to say having a regression year, but like, he's not evolving.
No.
Anymore.
I mean, Curtis Samuel was their leading receiver. Antonio Gibson was the next guy up. Jahan Dotson third, but only 2 catches for 20 yards and like
consistently inconsistent.
This is an Eric Bieniemy offense. So I don't know. I honestly don't. The Commanders, I believe, are one of the highest scored against defenses in the league right now. And it's just like kind of what you're saying with that new ownership. I feel like they have to clean house. And like, okay, let me ask you this. on what is a percentage chance that the Commanders have the opportunity to move up and they take a QB? I don't think it's very likely, but with a new ownership group, I mean, this is a 5th round rookie or a 5th round second year guy who's making his first year starting.
I don't know. Probably pretty slim.
Washington almost has 400 points against them this year.
That is crazy.
Wait,
I feel like I missed. Wait, repeat the question one more time. I think I misunderstood.
I'm just asking, like, if the Commanders are, let's say, a top 5 pick, and let's say the Bears are selling at 1. Are you doing it? Are you moving up to go get a guy?
I'm banking on Sam.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to keep banking on. Like, I think what he's showing you this year, especially with just like his intangibles, kind of like, I was worried about his height and a few things about him. And it's like seeing him still stand in that pocket, do what he's doing at the frame he has and all that. I think it's like, keep giving him time to grow. Like, it's like sky's the limit kind of thing. It's like, let's just keep giving him some time. Give him an O-line. Keep that receiving core growing. I think that's the route I'm taking.
Okay.
New coaching staff, especially, though. Staff, most important thing.
Denver at Houston. Would you consider Nico Collins a star wide receiver?
Oh, certainly. Matter of fact, here I'm lacking because I don't have my. I'm getting to my notes for this game. Hold on a minute. I'm stalling here. What was because I had a crazy little stat here that I want to talk about. Why can I not find it?
Bro, I can't find it either.
No, here it is.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, there it is. Okay. All right. So here's my thing about Nico is back-to-back weeks 100+ yards, but that's also that's his 4th total 100+ yard game this season. Nico Collins on a potential that I won't say all pro yet, but he's on a Pro Bowl tear this year for sure. I mean, and normally Pro Bowls I would say don't really mean that much, but this would be one where it does. This is one where it's like, no, he's deserving. Get that man in there. He's making a humongous leap that we saw coming.
Deserving because we had the narrative.
Yeah, this was our narrative. One of our narratives.
9 receptions, 191 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, you may even see his workload increase with Tank Dell out for the year now. That
is terrible news though. If you're a Texans fan,
Very sad.
that one, and not even like I say no affiliation here, but that one hurt me.
I was a big Tank Dell guy.
Right. It's like I like that duo. I like what's going on down there in Houston. It's like you don't want to see that when they're starting to build such a fire connection. I don't think it's going to affect anything long term though. It's just this year. It's like, damn, that would have been really nice, especially for that.
Could have helped them win a playoff game.
Right. That potential playoff run. It's definitely going to be hindering on that. So that sucks.
I think this was a very, very impressive day for CJ Stroud. I think the Broncos were one of those teams that were worth being like reckoned with. Like the Broncos were like a team kind of almost like the Packers now, where it's like you don't want to see them.
No.
Like you don't want to see that team.
No, definitely not. Especially with Sean Payton out there calling the shots.
No. And like the Texans, I think this may have been their biggest statement game of the year with the way the game planned out.
No, for sure. Especially because kind of like, and this is where I think you'll agree with me on this. This was the biggest game in terms of like playoff like contingency for I think like both teams that was last week, because this was really the game where whoever lost this, you feel like I hate to say it, but because it sucks to say it's to one of the fan bases, but you feel like that was kind of like you got almost punched out of the playoff race. Like this was really the one where whoever lost this one, kind of got like a big smack to the face.
Yeah, and I think it's also like you're playing like it's like experience versus like youth. And it's like, is the youth better, or does the experience and like wisdom of the game override what the Texans are doing this year? And it didn't happen. I mean, Stroud has just been so phenomenal this year. And it's like he steps up when he needs to step up. It's so impressive.
No, it is. And I got to shift gears here for a sec because I almost forgot. And this is something I really need to talk about. Speaking of something else that's also incredibly impressive. I mean, truly, I'll marvel at this year because of how impressive of a turnaround it is. Vance Joseph. Let's give another, I mean, seriously, I'm giving another slow clap here to Vance, because after how you started, this year the Broncos, under 25 points allowed 7 games in a row.
That's crazy.
That is amazing. Especially because, and it's not easy to go from coaching that poorly to getting, it's like just not only the schematic changes that had to happen, but getting everybody to come back as one unit, getting everybody to buy back in. Very impressive shit from Vance. Very impressive shit from Sean. The whole group. If you're a Broncos fan, that's got to make you feel good no matter what the record's looking like right now and how the playoff hopes feel.
Well, also another thing, I guess, for the Broncos, and then we'll go back to the Texans, is Courtland Sutton. Him and Russ. Russ had probably his worst game of the year. 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 186 yards. But his connection with Courtland Sutton is very nice. And like, if Courtland Sutton can just stay healthy and Denver adds like a pretty good wide receiver, T. Higgins, to their wide receiver room, and maybe not him, but you know what I'm saying? Like
that would be very interesting to keep our eye on, though.
A T. Higgins level receiver, like they got a team.
I'm with you. I just want Courtland to stay healthy. That's the big issue. Because at this point, I was going to say when you brought it up, would you be willing to consider him a contested catch / spectacular catch king of the NFL right now?
He's got to be up there. I don't know who's doing it better right now.
It's like there's only 1 or 2 a game, but like not catches, but just crazy catch. But it's like he will come down with at least one ridiculous catch a game. It's almost at this point.
Yeah.
Like, how did he just keep his feet in? How did he just do a backflip and catch the ball? It's like he's like the contested catch king.
I really like the connection that him and Russ have. Going to defense, Alex Singleton had himself a day. They had 5 sacks. The Broncos had 5 sacks on the Texans this game. Very impressive.
Back to that Vance Joseph turnaround.
Yeah. So finally, Derek Stingley. That's the second time I did it. And Will Anderson had themselves a game.
Oh, no. Their first round picks recently, they've been absolutely hitting on them. If you're a Texas fan, you got to feel so excited about this D'Amico Ryans regime. Like, this has definitely got to be like, oh, man. We finally got, it's like we finally got a team in the next few years.
If I was Houston, I'd be so ecstatic. You have your quarterback, you have your coach, you have your defense. Like,
this team has the Lombardi written on them in a few years.
Bro, it does.
Like, it really does. And I want to, again, not to jinx it, but you know what? Fuck that. The Texans are not in that territory. The Texans, they're not in jinx territory. They're not like the Cowboys. I'm gassing the Texans. Let's go Texans.
Do you have anything else you want to say on this game? Or are you ready to move on? This was, in my opinion, probably one of the games of the year.
Yeah, this was definitely, especially for playoff implications, this was definitely a game everyone's going to go back to. Huge game this year.
Well, bro, so I'll bring this up before we moved on. When I was talking about, when we posted this, someone commented like, this is game of the year, but there's Philly and San Fran. But I'm like, we know what Philly and San Fran are. Like, these teams are scary teams. Like, and you don't know how they're going to play against each other. But anyway, let's move on to a disgusting matchup. We're going to go to the NFC South.
Back to the trash.
Carolina at Tampa Bay. Is Chuba Hubbard the new running back 1 of the future for the Carolina Panthers?
I'd say at least for next year, for sure, because I have to do some research on how this contract works. Actually, I'm going to stall and do it right now. I'm going to check when Miles Sanders' contract can be voided for basically no dead cap. Because that's the thing is, if you can do that after this season, there's no doubt you're doing that. Especially Tepper's up in flames. He knows that it's a volatile, dire situation with the fan base. You got to cut all that dead cap you can to get as many new names and new faces in the building as possible. And so it's like, to answer the question, next year, at least Chuba, definitely immediate running back 1.
I guess my thing is like, of all teams that are like have the cap to sign a running back, why would you do it? Like, we have talked about this almost every game, but it's just like teams constantly just draft new running backs and play them. Like, I feel like it's really not that hard to hit on a running back in the draft. Like, just take one in the 4th or the 5th every year. You'll have one.
One guy in the 4th or 5th, one guy undrafted. You'll find one of them will come through and be hitting it in training camp.
Yeah.
And also, here's some crazy sad news for Panthers fans. This year's dead cap on that contract, $11 million. Next year, $8.5 million.
Oh.
So realistically, the only time you'd end up cutting him is after the next season. Unless you want to go eat $19 million cap.
Just brutal.
So, it is what it is. That's why you can't be giving out contracts like that. Oh, and I swear Panthers fans thought I was literally brain dead for bringing this up. I have to keep doing my victory lap on this one. I'm sorry, Panthers fans. I do hope, though, genuinely, from a Saints fan, I hope that this is a little bit depressing. Hopefully the turnaround can start a little sooner for you guys. So I'm not bashing on y'all.
Chuba Hubbard had double the amount of touchdowns this year, double the amount of touchdowns this game that Miles Sanders has this year, and a third of his rushing yards.
Just a joke. But it's also, I can't even blame Miles because Miles stole the bag. I can't blame him for putting pen to the paper. I would have done that shit in a second.
It's on the GM. Like it's like, running back who had a decent year behind probably the best O-line we've ever seen on one of the best teams. Oh, he's got to be like...
We're watching Kenneth Gainwell, who Eagles fans have like the worst love-hate relationship ever with, putting up... Kenneth Gainwell could put up realistically 80 to 100 a week behind that O-line. It's like...
I mean, that's why DeAndre Swift like doesn't have that much vision. He just runs through the wide open hole. Like, I don't know.
No, yeah, this they got fooled by the Eagles O-line. Panthers fans definitely did, because they haven't had an O-line like the Eagles in forever. So it's like I don't blame them. They got fooled a little bit. I'm sorry, Panthers fans. You got the tricks, but now you're seeing that it was an illusion.
Jonathan Mingo took a step.
I can't gas him yet because this was the first one. This was really the first game this year. What was my thing I had here? So only the second game with 5+ receptions this year, but that's definitely a trend that if it continues, that is probably the most important thing for Bryce's development this season. He has to have another guy besides Adam Thielen that he's targeting constantly. And even this game, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did Thielen only have 2 catches?
Thielen had... Yes, three
so
for 25
I knew
yards.
He was minimal. So look, that's the thing is when especially when Thielen's not getting open or he's getting blanketed double teams, you got to have another option. This was the start of maybe something kind of new for the Panthers.
Regardless how you feel about like Bryce Young's play this year, I honestly feel like this was one of his better games. I like the way he was creating out of the pocket. I think he looked a little bit more confident. Even though the stats probably won't show that, I think that deep pass to DJ Shark was really nice. I think it's getting kind of frustrating though, because it's like, I'm glad he's creating a connection with Mingo, but like, I think you're seeing, like, I think the Panthers offense was probably better when it was Thielen getting a majority of the targets, which is fine. I mean, I just think like at the end of the day, the coaching staff may have said, okay, we need to generate like players that are going to be here long term and develop them. Like, I don't know. All of this to say the Panthers are fucked.
Well, it's like, and again, so it's like, and I just pulled it up here just to have every name in front of my face because, I like to have it all in front of me. Like, let's be realistic for a second. Genuinely, minus Bryce, because you're locked into Bryce no matter what at this point. But minus Bryce, Adam, and Chuba. Realistically, who is going to be on this team?
Mingo.
Icky, your left tackle, you're also locked in on that. Here's my thing, and I loved Icky. He was actually one of my favorite prospects last year. He had a great rookie year, but this year it's been a decline, honestly, and especially from the tape I'm watching, I'm like, Icky, what's going on? Icky does not look very good. The whole O-line looks terrible. The receiving core, everybody, like I said, minus Adam, it's like when they signed DJ Chark, that's just to me also a very unserious signing. DJ Chark's a great like wide receiver 4, like bring him in when someone's injured or have him as like an option off the bench. He's a great guy like that. But one of your starting options, it was like, and you're getting him starter money. Like the Panthers are just unserious. Like there's so many things that need to be fixed. They have no tight end. Most important thing for young QB, as we've been saying.
What do you mean, there's bro? So Hayden Hurst.
Consistent.
Wait, is he healthy though? I don't even think he's healthy. That's the problem.
Actually. Is that it's like Hayden when he's out there, he's solid, but it's also like he's not out there very often. So it's like you got to get him a young tight end to mesh with. He has to get guys that are his guys. He has no his guys besides Adam, which I'll keep saying doesn't matter because by the time that Thielen is by the time that they're anywhere potentially even, I can't even picture what it's going to look like if they were even able to. But put a competitive team around over the next few years, he'll be too old at that point. Become serious. Start putting around weapons around Bryce where he can actually develop chemistry with them. Because at this point, it's literally a pointless experiment if you keep it going this way. Because we know what it's going to end up like.
Yeah. I mean, wounded animal to a sinking ship. The Buccaneers aren't that much better. They won by 3. Mike Evans, 3rd 100-yard game this year. Hall of Famer, 10 straight years with 1,000 yards.
Are we witnessing a Hall of Fame career? I was going to say, because with receivers, it's going to take at least, like, we probably won't see him get that jacket until we're like 50 or 60 with the way it works with receivers. But, like, I think he's getting in line eventually to get that jacket.
I love Mike Evans, bro. I'm so happy for him. When he caught that, I mean, like, bro, when he caught that ball and took it to the house, I'm like,
he still got speed.
Bro, he's how old?
Yeah, like I didn't think he still had it like that, bro.
He grabbed that and took it to the house. Yeah, so shout out Mike Evans and like
the Bucs defense is really the main thing that gets our shout out today. I had to give that Antoine Winfield 1 sack, 1 interception day a shout. And then the Yaya Diaby 4 sacks over the last 4 games. Like, hey, if you're a Bucs fan, the way he plays too, I feel like you got to feel like you're like, hold on a minute. Are we getting another dominant edge rusher right here? Is Shaq Barrett's wisdom passing over to Yaya? Are we getting a little Shaq Barrett kind of 2.0 over here? If you're a Bucs fan, it's got to be exciting for you.
Do you think the Bucs are one of those teams that if they kind of lose one more, kind of get a little bit more out of the race? Do you think there's one of those teams that'll quiet quit?
Oh, I feel like no, for sure. And especially like we say about with Todd Bowles. It's like Todd Bowles is in the unserious coaching category. Like holding on to Todd Bowles is unserious. That's the word of the day. If you decide to hold on to him and retain him after this year, they're unserious. And that's the thing is it already feels very unserious that he's still there.
What's also like Chris Godwin is just like not producing this year. He's got 600 yards. It feels like he's not involved like he should be in the game plan.
His chemistry compared to what Mike and Baker have is not even close.
I think it's
which
just
is weird though.
Mike just has a bigger like catch radius.
But that's what I want to say. What also makes no sense about it is you remember that one game where Mike went out and then Chris came in against the Saints. It was like Chris immediately had a great connection, but for whatever reason, when they're both on the field together, they just don't have
it.
That.
Just doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah. So the NFC South shit fest. Do you have anything else you want to talk about this game, or should we?
No, that's honestly
the listeners?
The NFC South. We will relieve them of the NFC South talk.
All right, let's move to a slightly less boring game. Cleveland at Los Angeles Rams.
I knew we were going next after you said that. I was like, can we narrow it down to these next three we got to talk about?
Do the Browns have a chance to win a playoff game with Joe Flacco as the quarterback?
See, I'm going to tie this to my first note I have for this game here. Because I'm going to believe, honestly, no. Because I do feel like, and it hurts me to say this, because they've been one of my narrative teams. But it does kind of feel like the Brown season started to slip away. Because this was all, again, like when you have a team built like the Browns, and then you have our guy, but not only is he our guy, he's our most expensive guy in league history. When he goes down, there's got to be an inevitable like rift in that locker room.
Yeah.
Like, damn, 50% of the salary is sitting on the couch the rest of the year. Like, if only we could pick up, it's kind of like, there's got to be an inevitable, like, it's so hard to bounce back from that psychologically. And yes, you could be a rah-rah guy and tell me, we don't quit. Yeah. Okay, I get it. I'm all with that type of mentality. I'm all with that type of thinking too. But I'm also very realistic. And very realistically, it's got to be very hard to bounce back from that and still be that same team, which is showing you kind of can't. When that much of the cap's taken up by one guy, it's really tough.
Well, it's also like at the end of the day, he already missed 8 games last year. So it's like you keep like putting stuff on hold for him. And it's like Jacoby Brissett played better with the team than anybody has played. Like Deshaun, all the backups, any of that. And it's like,
why is Josh Dobbs not there? Like you could ask, you could ask so many questions about the Browns, to be honest. That's where
what the fuck was happening with Elijah Moore this week? Like,
so the Browns receivers, I know that's the biggest narrative that I know about the Browns right now is that I hear is that they have, I mean, they're the fans, I'm saying from the fan base, they like don't like the receiving core in the slightest.
I mean,
like
it's
they
kind
have minus Amari, even with Amari, they all have drop issues. They all are like consistently inconsistent.
It's very lame. Like think about it. Like Elijah Moore had 4 catches on 12 targets.
Like he's literally catching the ball 33% of the time.
25.
Wait, no, how was it? You said it was 3
4,
on
8. No, it is 33. Oh, that's me.
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, hold on a minute, bro.
That's even worse because I thought I had it. That's worse. That's worse. That's worse.
I was like, wait, I had to make sure I heard the numbers correctly.
I like Njoku, but in reality, he's not moving the needle.
No, it's the thing is where he's definitely a productive tight end, but for the way that the Browns are, especially with how run dominant they are, I agree. It's kind of like maybe get a guy who's a little more of a blocker on top of, because I think that combination of that 1-2 punch of Njoku and an X tight end, if you get, I guess, somebody who's a little bit better of a blocker to throw in there, I think that's definitely something the Browns are going to be targeting this offseason. But that's not like the fix all be like the reality of the situation is Deshaun just has to be out there.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going to fix this team at the end of the day. And it's like, if that can't be the reality, this will keep being the Browns' reality. It's like what could have been.
But in reality, how long do the Browns have to do it? Like next year and the year after? Like that's it?
No, that's what.
If
like,
that.
That's why this sucks so much. That's why I say it hurts me to say. Because as you know, I think everybody who's not like a hater, if you're not a Browns hater, you would not mind seeing them have some success. They've been so bad for so long.
Yeah.
Where it's like it hurts to see that fan base have to go through this again.
Well, it's kind of like the Jets. It's just like, oh shit, the plan.
At least they got the Joe Namath moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, like who was alive? Not who was, but most people that are Jets fans nowadays, like it's not the same. So like it is the same. Like,
I just look at it like both these teams went in without a backup plan.
Oh, I mean, you're saying in the immediate now. Like,
like
and
it railed
now.
them. It railed them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the Browns defense too is just. I mean, they gave up 36 to the Rams.
Yeah, like that was my main thing about this. That's why I wanted to say that I feel like the season is slipping because, like we were saying, and this is not even, I don't think, a quiet quit thing. I think with the Browns, it's genuinely different, where it's like when your offense only very often getting the ball they 3 and out like half the game. I'll tell you as a Saints fan, it's like no matter how good the defense is playing, at that point it doesn't matter because the time of possession difference, it's just you're going to get 30 plus scored on you. Like when you can't possess the ball, it doesn't matter how good you're playing. You're going to have a few explosive plays on you. If you're giving the other opponent, hold on. So if you're giving the opposing team like 70, 80 plays a game, you're going to get cooked. It is what it is.
And Cooper Kupp is mid now.
Oh, and it's like, that's just, and then timeout, because Rams fans, they're going to feel differently than we would feel. But I just want to point this out because it was something we were saying. Where it's like, if the Rams, because the Rams are, okay, I get it. They're getting back into like low-key playoff position. All right. But if they traded him away prior to that deadline, that compensation I feel like would have been way better than anything. You're not getting anything now. And he's getting older.
No.
But if you're a Rams fan, you would have never wanted to trade him away because you love him. I get it. The Rams fans are always going to have a different love and connection with that man. But I'm just saying from the non-biased, bipartisan point of view, I think that our narrative still has some weight.
Yeah,
was trading him the move?
I think it probably was because, no, don't get me wrong, Cooper Kupp as your wide receiver 2 sounds very enticing, but it just is not working right now with like Puka in that role. And I think also when the Rams had like Todd Gurley, they were dominant. You're starting to see Kyren Williams really become that guy.
No, out of nowhere, too, might have had. Like, Kyren Williams, I don't even bring up fantasy much ever on this podcast. But real quick, like, Kyren Williams has got to be one of the PPR studs this year when he's playing. I know he's been out there the whole season. But, like, week-to-week basis for his volume when he's out there, I mean, Kyren Williams has got to be one of the PPR kings this year.
Oh, yeah. He's going crazy. He's got 22 receptions, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, 687 yards on the ground, 5.1 yards per carry, and 7 touchdowns. The Rams have some stars on offense.
No, and then also I wanted to say, I had to talk about Kobe Turner because he's one of these guys that's like really, none of the mainstream has picked up on him yet. We've been talking about him since like week 2 or 3 at this point. But Kobe Turner, man, like 3.5 sacks over the last 2 games. That Aaron Donald mentorship, like, clearly is holding a lot of weight. If you're a Rams fan, like, you got to be saying to yourself, like, man, are we getting ourselves the next pass rushing beast on the interior here?
Well, they also have what's his name, Akeel Witherspoon.
I mean, the corner.
Yeah,
Kello.
Akello Witherspoon.
He has like an interesting name. I might even be mispronouncing.
Hold on, I'm gonna find it. But anyway, yeah, it's just like they built all this without first round picks. So
that's back to the coaching thing. Back to my coaching means everything.
Akello Witherspoon.
Like Sean McVay is definitely the orchestrating piece though of this whole team.
So
coaching matters. Go figure.
Let me ask you this. Because the Rams, I mean, we'll move on to the next game unless you have anything else you want to say. The Rams have been known to say fuck those picks.
And you know what?
Do they go get a quarterback after this or next year? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they have to keep Stafford, but
that's the thing is once you ride out Stafford, I'm sure that their game plan, as long as they can keep McVay in the building. Oh, I'm sure they're drafting another guy. Absolutely not. Because at this point, because I think about it, Sean McVay's already halfway in, half out the door.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you don't keep a fully potentially competitive roster, where it's like if they didn't have Stafford, I'm sure that he doesn't even view this as a competitive roster right now. Like if they didn't retain Stafford, I'm sure that McVay was out the door, right? So it's like if you don't keep him a guy that he thinks he can go win a Lombardi with, I think he's going to say especially for the immediate future, and I wouldn't blame him. Like there's probably a lot of things that go through Sean McVay's head. And hear me out. This is a thing where if you're a Rams fan, you're not going to want to hear this. But again, I always speak the honest truth, what I feel like. Where if you're Sean McVay, maybe you're saying to yourself, I coach a team that literally never can have a home fan base. Like we literally are.
That's very annoying.
It's probably like just maybe if I could get to a new environment as I get older, maybe that sounds enticing.
Bro,
and I'm not saying that I'm for sure right. He could maybe he might love that organization, might love being there. He might love wanting to stay in LA forever. I could be totally wrong. I just speak my mind. That's just something I've been potentially pondering, especially where I know maybe knowing his foot's at halfway out. Could that play a factor in it? You know what I mean?
I don't think he's going to leave until Stafford's gone.
No, right.
Or AD. I mean, like, imagine him with the Chargers.
like that's
Imagine
same
with Justin
location,
Herbert.
but at least like it's something enticing. I just feel like if you're Sean McVay right now, you're probably saying to yourself, man, I've really built like everything over this team for the last like decade, and now it's kind of like if we're gonna scrap everything out, I don't have even time for that right now because I have so many value opportunities. He could go make $50 million doing broadcasting in the meantime. It's like if you're Sean McVay, you have everything on the table for you. Maybe it's like he's just not going to rush to the next decision, but I'm sure he's got the idea that, like, exactly, once Stafford's out the door, if they can't retain a competitive team, probably not going to see him on that team again.
Let's move into the powerhouse game of the week. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Powerhouse just sounded right to me. We have San Francisco at Philly. I think this question is very easily answered, but is San Fran the best team in the NFL?
I think after yesterday they showed that, yeah, I mean, I'll say this, when they're fully healthy, when they're fully healthy, they have to be. But I want to say this too, because I'm not a recency bias guy. I'm not going to get fooled. Let me be clear. The Eagles, because I do believe they'll face again in the playoffs. I don't think this is like an indictment that the Eagles cannot come back and, win again when they face again. I think like the reality is like the Niners core is just younger than the Eagles core right now. And it's like, a little, maybe a little more fresh at this point in the season. Like that Eagles line, you're older. Like maybe it's like as the season goes on, are they going to be able to keep up with every single week? I think that's maybe what I was looking at like this week where it's like just maybe the Niners more fresh, the Eagles really beat up, like kind of thing. Where my main point I'm trying to make is like, even though I do believe the Niners have a better roster, I don't think it's an indictment that the Eagles couldn't beat them in the playoffs. Like I still think the Eagles are right there with them, and the score kind of is like misleading this game. Well, this was one of those like flow momentum games where the Niners just took that momentum and told the Eagles to fuck themselves. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of goes like that sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like they got outcoached on like almost every level, but this game doesn't strike me as one of those games where it's like, oh, like the 49ers absolutely dismantled, which they did. But I'm talking about in the long run where it's like, this strikes me as a game where the Eagles are like, okay, that's not happening again.
Like, that's not us. Like they didn't show up.
Yeah. And it's like, that's my thing is like, if I was the 49ers, I wouldn't want to see the Eagles.
I like, even as like, I would use this as my, like when the Saints and Bucks, even when the Saints would beat the Bucks twice a year when they had Brady, where it's like, every Saints fan would get overconfident. I'm like, dude, you're thinking like that. That was when it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like and if anything, you're giving them an incentive when it's time. And sure enough, they came and beat us when it mattered. And that's the thing is, I'm just saying the Eagles could very well do the same thing to the Niners.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things to take from these last couple weeks, especially this game, Brock Purdy has been on another fucking level, especially with Deebo Samuel taking these receptions to the crib, to the fucking Baja.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
whatever that means.
He's literally taking them to the Baja Blast.
Bro.
Like, whatever that means, he's doing it. It's last 4 weeks, 1,152 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, he's cooking. And then Deebo with the 3 touchdown day. That could happen every week for the next. I mean, this could be like a weekly thing as long as the Niners stay healthy.
4 touchdowns, 314 yards for Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey had a day. What fucking new? Kittle had a good day. Like, everybody just on the 49ers ate. Their defense shut them down. Like,
I was thinking about throwing to bed last night. As you're saying all the names too, it's like we have to say it. It's like, back to, the narratives. I think really it's like if you're talking about narratives though, does the narrative for the Niners not feel like, and Shanahan, like this, like it's like they've been fighting, they've been clawing. Like, is this their year? Like, finally, like the redemption arc where it's like, you know what I mean? It's like if you're gonna make a documentary about the team, where like this would be the year. Like they've been fighting, clawing for so damn long. Shandy's had so many. I was right there. You got CMC playing at his ultimate best. You have Brock playing his ultimate best. You got a line where Trent's getting older. It's like, yeah, you got to capitalize on it now. It feels like this has to be the year. And like we say, we've been saying this all year. If this isn't the year, you worry about the future. Because it's like, and then if you're a Niners fan, you tell me, what are you talking about? Brock's his best. But again, it's only a matter of time before he's going to demand fat money.
Yeah.
So
I like what you put down here, saying the 49ers shut down the Eagles' run game, and it showed how to beat the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Swift didn't do shit this game. But what I will say is I feel like the Eagles are smart enough to plan around this. So when they see him in the playoffs, if they see him in the playoffs, they won't allow that to happen again. Because that is what I will say. Like the Eagles, like they couldn't get shit going on the ground.
No, and to your point, no, absolutely. Where I think they came with a little bit more vanilla of a run game plan, where it's like we're going to go to these few concepts, few read concepts. And the thing is, it didn't work, was shut down, and then they had to abandon the run because they didn't have too much going for them. Where like in the game plan, I think when they see him again, they're going to have so many more run concepts in that game plan.
Yeah, they have
where
to.
it's like they have to have a lot of different ways to come at them.
Yeah.
You got to have traps, you got to have your sweeps, you got to have your pulls, you got to have the inside zone, outside zone. They got to really mix it up because they came with just a few read-centric things. They kind of tried to RPO them out. Look, the Niners are too smart for that. You got to come with a more less vanilla, more colorful game plan. I think that's what they'll do if they see him again.
AJ Brown played like a dog. Devontae Smith played. That's the thing is like Hurts played well, Brown played well, Smith played well. It's like that just with that run game, they just couldn't get it going.
And that's the thing is that's the secret to the Eagles. Like their pass game will always get going to an extent as we saw, but it does need to be married to that run game for them to be that best team in the league.
The Eagles are in danger of losing the 1 seed. They are now 10-2. Obviously, that's the best record in the NFL still, but with the next schedule they play Dallas, Seattle, Giants, Arizona Giants. So I feel like as long as they can get past Dallas, they'll be okay.
Seattle, maybe just maybe end of the year. Like you never know with teams that are really feisty. Like Seattle should be fighting and clawing too, though.
Yeah,
little extra incentive.
So I think this game was kind of like what I don't think people really expected this game to be what it was. I think they felt it was closer, but I don't want to say this game was surprising to me at all.
No, I do agree that I could have definitely seen prior to the game one of these two teams coming there and kicking their team in the face, which is literally exactly what happened.
Because I think when you work up a game where it's like, oh, it's going to be a super tight, like I didn't think Dallas Seattle was going to be like a shootout.
Yeah, not at all. Oh, we thought that was like, oh, this is definitely the end of the Seahawks season. It's in a painful way.
So before we move on to our last game, I want to say this. I'll do the hot take. If the 49ers see the Cowboys in the playoffs, the 49ers are going home. Because think about how bad the 49ers whooped them earlier this year.
And that back to our narrative about like that thing, like it matters at the moment, but then when the playoffs come, it doesn't really matter. It's just another game, but whoever shows up that day.
I think the Cowboys want to get their get back.
No, that is going to be the game or manifested. That needs to happen.
All right, let's go to our last game. Let's go to Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Packers shocked the world. I don't know, maybe not crazily, but I don't think anyone really expected them to win this game. So my question to you, Dobbs, is Jordan Love is a top blank QB.
15.
Okay.
But I think we're going to keep climbing higher. We're going to keep climbing higher. It's just that core around him needs to keep evolving. Like he's being, I don't really want to say held back because again, like the young core is playing well. They're not even holding him back. They're a slingshot unit together.
Yeah.
And they need to like sling forward. That's like my analogy for
I
them.
was impressed with the receivers last night. Very impressed.
No, that's why I don't want to take anything away from them. Like for where they're at in their careers, this is like I'm saying, like this kind of is like best case scenario for the Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Christian Watson's starting to snap. Jaden Reed's playing well. Dontavian Wicks has been well.
Definitely Dontavian Wicks is kind of coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. When you look at him, he looks like an NFL receiver, though, you know?
No, definitely.
He's built like that.
Definitely an athletic guy. That's probably the Packers have guys. They just need to keep getting older,
right?
Which is like the best problem to have. Like you have a bunch of guys that are not making any money. That just need to keep getting older and will start to make a little bit more money, but none of them are going to be demanding like humongo deals. Like you're a Packers fan, you're just in patient territory. Stay patient. I think the future is going to be very, very fruitful for you.
Another person that played well, Romeo Dobbs. Like
he needs his credit.
Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely one of them. Like we said, Cortland Sutton contested catch, crazy catch king. Romeo Dobbs is kind of like also in that archetype.
The Packers have a very nice young receiving core. I mean, obviously, like even with Luke Musgrave out, Tucker Kraft's been playing well. Like I think the main thing for them is like I don't really know how much Aaron Jones really has left in the tank. They're gonna have to fix that run game.
That's what I was just about to bring up. Is AJ Dillon is a great gadget to have on your team, and in terms of he's not, you don't look at him as a gadget guy. Be good. I'm saying like
right.
He's useful in a lot of situations. But if he's your only back getting a lot of touches, it's not the best case scenario for either party, him or the team. You got to get another guy in there, that Thunder and Lightning guy, because we know that AJ's the Thunder.
Right.
You got to get the Lightning. Who will it be? Probably get to your point. Probably not AJ.
You're going to have to draft some guy. Or Aaron, right?
Yeah, like probably not Aaron. But yeah, exactly. Because I said AJ and I meant Aaron Jones. That's hilarious. But AJ Dill, that's all right. That's hilarious. Yeah, you can't have Aaron back there. You could, but it's getting volatile.
Yeah.
So,
especially because it's like a hamstring issue. Like those things, like once you re-aggravate them, it's like you might as well sit them down for 6 weeks at a time.
Oh, exactly, at least.
Other side of the ball, the Chiefs got the run game going finally, but I mean, I guess it depends on what you want to say. That last drive was probably one of the worst refs drives I've seen this year.
Oh,
if not
terrible.
The worst. First off, you got the DPI and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You also have the MVS catch where he's going backwards and they stop the clock. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That one was dope. That was the one where I'm like, all right, like the refs definitely they want this to be a nail biter. There's no doubt.
Unnecessary roughness hit on Patrick Mahomes when he was still in bounds. Horrible. He's outside the pocket. He's a runner. He's trying to get yards.
That if there's something needs to have the biggest, I'd say, I think you'd agree. Like ref rekindling this offseason. It's not. I don't think he's using the pass interference. I think it's the whole like. The QBs get way too much preferential treatment.
It's very bad.
There needs to be like a reevaluation because QBs are being treated as if they're not the most athletic they've ever been. These guys are coming out like 6'6", 6'5",
running over dudes. Yeah,
it's like, dude, these guys don't need to be babied. Like they are full blown athletes too.
Yeah. Chiefs defense. What's going on here against a young Packers unit?
Yeah, first I'd say this was really the first rough day they've had in so long though. So we'll give them a break.
Yeah,
27 points. It's like we always say, it's going to happen with unit. That's like I want to say I think it kind of marries to this though. Like the Chiefs' last 5 weeks, 4 games under 22 points scored. It's like the defense is only going to be able to do so much in any situation when your offense is playing like that. It makes no sense because you'd love to be able to just point to Matt Nagy. I think the NFL populace as a whole would just be able to be like Nagy. It's got to be Nagy. But Nagy's got the ring on his finger. Nagy was part of a lot of great performances last year. You can't even do that. It's like the reality situation is the Chiefs, man, I'm fucking confused. But we know that if you had to point one thing, they have major receiving core issues.
Oh, yeah. It's not looking good. The bright spot, Rashee Rice is looking like they got their wide receiver one. Maybe not like, he's probably not like a high end guy, but like, when you watch his burst, like when he gets the ball,
future Pro Bowl guy, like type of guy for sure. I'd say
he 8 receptions, 64 yards. Pairing with Kelsey was nice, but like after that, there's nothing. There's nothing after Rashee Rice and Travis Kelsey.
I think if we could even go back to where this maybe even started being an issue, we can almost make like a timeline of this. I think just maybe where this whole offensive core issue became a really big thing was it where they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire? That might have been the first, because that's the thing is the Chiefs have been able to get away on Mahomes' value for so long with their draft capital. Like last year's draft class was an absolute hit. So I'm not even talking about last year's class, but a lot of classes before that in recent times during the Mahomes tenure, you could look at a lot of picks around those first few rounds and maybe just be like, yeah, maybe we overvalued that guy. Where it's like you got away with him with Mahomes, but now it's starting to catch up where it's like as much as Mahomes is going to do good for the team, if you're having guys that are making first round money, second round money, not really contributing, it adds up.
Something that I've noticed with the Chiefs, what they do sometimes is like some of their picks are like smartest guy in the room picks. Like Sky Moore.
No, they've had a lot of those recently.
No,
it is almost like you have a feeling where you can experiment because of Mahomes, but exactly the same thing is, in a sense, that's almost malpractice because you're taking shots in the dark just because you have a guy you have so much faith in. But again, it's like if you're just banking on one guy to help you save your job, keep your title, keep you being the guy who's making all the right decisions, it's volatile.
I mean, also like Kadarius Toney, they traded like a 3rd round pick for him. He's been in the league since 2021 and he's played 30 games. 30 games. He has less than 1,000 yards in his career. Like they make these moves for these guys that in theory
it's experiments. It's literally they're literally experiments.
And they haven't been able to get the experiment right. The last time they got the experiment right was probably like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill.
No, I like
Travis Kelce. I'm talking like of the recent like 2-3 years.
And even with Tyreek though, it wasn't even a big risk. At least you're throwing up a fifth rounder on it. Like, no, I'm with you 100%. The Chiefs have gotten and even like Pacheco was one of these last like late round picks that was really hitting. It's like to the point of late round running back.
But it's a running back.
That's exactly with the late round running back. You don't have to. Well, that was the point. Why did you draft Clyde in the first round? I loved Clyde. He's my boy. He always will be from LSU.
But their defensive picks have been Their offensive picks are just.
That would be the best way to put it. No, honestly, even Felix this year, it's like, yeah, but he's a young guy. You got to get the reps in. Like, the defense has been fine. Like, the offense, which sounds so crazy to say.
Well, that is pretty much all I had. I don't want to, just before we move on to that end of the show, I don't want to take away from like what the Packers did. It was very impressive. They are in the hunt. They're in the hunt graphic.
They made the graphic.
But yeah, no. Shout out to the Packers winning on Sunday night. That is all that I had.
That's all I had too. We got to give our shouts to the Packers. Give our shouts to Jordan Love. And yeah, I'd say another crazy week. Hopefully we have another crazy week coming up.
Yep. Well, thank you guys for watching. This has been You Don't Know Ball 62. You can get the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can watch all the videos on YouTube. They're clipped. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at You Don't Know Ball Pod. Yeah, Dobbs.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all stopping by, man. Y'all have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you're watching. And we hope to see y'all again.